I've had more fans.
And we are live. Hello. Back with the awesome Julie Cuccia Watts.
Hi, everybody.
um,
Where were we? Where did we leave off?
well, I believe on question 19 about different places you traveled. And I know when you answered personally to me, you spoke a bit about your awakening, like in college. And I was wondering if you felt like maybe sharing your experience coming into your awakening
Oops.
during that time.
I got to turn the sound down. Okay. Yeah, the spiritual awakening. Well, I got married right out of high school, and that kind of changed my worldview about religion. So I went to college. I went to Whitewater, and I had a small child with me when I went. My son was 18 months old, and we moved into an apartment, and I went to school, accelerated studies program, so that I could get through my general studies in 1 year. And part of the curriculum was that we had to do this weekend workshop. And 1980, there were no daycares at the
Right.
college. You had to have a babysitter, and it happened to be the day that my babysitter quit. And so suddenly I had this required workshop I had to go to, and I had no babysitter. So I was kind of having like a nervous breakdown of the whole thing. I called my mom, and she came and got my son, and so I was open to go to this workshop. But I wasn't really interested in Indian things, and I was thinking, why do I have to take this? But I went, and it turned out to be like the most important thing that I've ever done, because the workshop was about their spirituality. And when the professor was talking about the spirituality, they were talking about past lives, reincarnation, and all of this was incorporated into the woodland spirituality of the native people who lived where I lived, right?
Oh,
So I was like taken aback. But not only that, um, like there was a connection between the professor and I. I mean, his voice was the voice of my parish priest. His voice was familiar to me. My
right.
parish priest was also a stage magician. And so there was a symbol there. And um, I noticed that he was staring at me in class, and I thought it was because I was a little bit late and I was like eating granola out of my pocket because didn't get breakfast. And I thought he's mad because I'm eating in his class. But he just kept staring at me. And then we got talking, and he asked the question, has anybody ever had something weird happen to you? And I raised my hand before I could even think. And I had never shared any of my like ghost experiences with like anybody, because everyone had always told me it was my imagination and that it was just a dream and go back to sleep, and nobody believed me. So before I could think of what I was doing, I raised my hand and I said, oh, I had an experience when I was a kid. And I said I was really little, and I don't know if I was like maybe 3 or less, or I'm not sure. But I called for my mom to bring me a glass of water. I was like, called for my mom, and I called for my mom. And then this woman walked into my room, and she was dressed in black, and she was all black. And I couldn't see her face, but I thought it was my mother. So I said, Mom, can I have a drink of water? And then she disappeared.
Wow.
And I pulled the covers over my head and I screamed for my mom. And then when my mom really did come in, and I felt her in her white pajamas, and I felt her and she was real, and I told her what happened, and she was like, you're just dreaming, and it's not real, and you have to go back to sleep, and here's some water, and change me out of my sweaty pajamas or whatever and make me go back to sleep. Well, I told that story in class, and my professor friend John Boatman said, "You don't. You're not crazy. You have a gift." And so I had the feeling that he was looking for people who had this gift.
Ooh, I
Um,
got chills.
uh, because as I got to know him, I learned that he had been employed by the government at one time and didn't really like, you know, the direction that his program was taking. And so he went to the Native American tribes and said, "What can we do about this?" And they said, "You need to change the system from within." And he went back to school and became a professor, and he started teaching the white middle class children who had been raised in religion about this stuff. And there were a lot of us. And it was quite an interesting group of people who had a lot of experiences. And we did a lot of work with, drumming and doing journey work. And I just happened to be one of those people who really like took off. And the actual days that I was there at this workshop, the very last day, um, I went back to my apartment and had one of those experiences that I used to have when I was little and hadn't had one since I was little. And I felt the electricity come and I felt it come up behind me and I heard the words huna huna huna, which I find out means magic in Hawaiian. Um, and I felt this electricity and I had the number of a friend of his. And so I called this woman and I told her what happened to me. And she said, "Do you want to talk to John?" And I said, "Yeah." And she gave me his number. So I called him. And it was like he picked up knowing that the phone was going to ring. And I told
Wow.
him what happened. And he said, "Well, it won't happen again." He said, "Just put on your radio or take your Bible to bed or whatever makes you feel comfortable. And we'll talk next week." And, like, from that moment on, we stayed connected, and I ended up going to UWM, Milwaukee, where he worked, a few years later, and that's pretty much how I connected with Peter, because he was taking the same classes in that group, although he had a different circle of friends with one connection, my best friend. Um, we had this single connection, but from that moment on, I started having my spiritual doors were blown open. I was having out of body experiences. I was, feeling these things again. And,
Wow.
but now I had permission. It was as if, yes, these things are real. And what do they mean? And I would see things and I would need to like figure out what they mean because it would be these holographic kind of things that I would see in the electricity and I didn't understand it. So I and he would never really give me answers about it. I
Just kind of
would
let you.
figure it out myself. So,
Wow.
yeah, my second semester at Whitewater, which was where I was going, I spent a lot of time just researching in the library, just researching things that interested me. And then, my grades kind of plummeted the second semester because I was more focused on spirituality than I was on my general studies and you know other things that I should have been more interested in if I was interested in pursuing a degree. But I just had to, I just had to. They had the best library that I'd ever been in and those were the days of libraries and you didn't have the internet and you couldn't look things up. So,
Right.
and I don't regret any of the things I did. Um, Studying the things I did was good. So,
Yeah, I agree. And it led you like to where you are and it deeply connected you, I think, more so into your path.
yeah.
Um, I was gonna ask you, did we go over last time? I can't remember, but I think it'd be a perfect time if we didn't. I love stories. So I'm like, how did you meet your significant other? Can
Wow.
I?
Well, I mean, I'm going to start with the very beginning because the beginning starts with my friend Vicky. And
Okay.
I I went to meet my professor friend John at his office, and he said, "I have somebody that I want you to meet." So he introduced me to this woman, Vicky. He said, "You you were sisters and rivals in a past life." And so she and I had a chuckle, and we laughed, and we walked down by the lake, by Lake Michigan, and we go, "Yeah, John, we were rivals for you." And we laughed about it, but we did really connect, and she was very shy, and I she liked to do stuff, but she didn't always wanted to go alone, so I would go with her, and we really hit it off, and we definitely had an Egyptian connection, and I really loved her, and
Right.
so then when one day I looked at her face and I thought, you really do belong with John. And I really stopped kind of pursuing him. And um, so then, like 2 years later, I we started hanging out again, and I came to her apartment, and here's this man named Peter, and so he was dating her and living in her house, and um, I thought, who is this? And but we all ended up being like a threesome of really good friends, and um, that was the best way for me to meet Peter because I was real Julie with Peter. I wasn't trying to be normal, and I wasn't
Right.
hiding who I was because so many people that I would date, as soon as they would find out I was into the moon and I was into astrology and I was into, symbolism in past lives, they'd be gone. But Peter got to know me for me, and we would talk about weird things, and went on his vision quest, and he was into the Native American stuff. So we'd talk about past lives, and we'd talk about all kinds of things, and we were really good pals. And Vicky didn't always want to go to the bar scene with Peter, but I didn't mind, and so we'd go to the Union, and we'd go dancing, and we'd have a couple beers and just hang out, and then I he asked me if I wanted to go skiing one day, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I could go skiing. Let's go skiing." And Vicky had to work. She didn't wanna go skiing, so I went skiing, and then we went to this place called the Pig and Whistle for because we were kinda cold, and it was halfway through our cross country skiing, and, we had a hot fudge sundae and a coffee and we had 2 coffees, and we shared a hot fudge sundae because we couldn't afford much more than that, and,
Aw.
he told me he was breaking up with her, and I was like, "Why?" But then on the way home, I thought, "Wow, then he's gonna be single, and that might be something." And
Mhm.
I thought, "I don't wanna lose him because he's such a good friend." And then when we walked, all the 3 of us, we went to pick up Vicky from where she was working, and then we were walking, and I kind of dropped behind, and those 2 walked together, and I decided I didn't really wanna give him back. And then after that, it changed, and it was, like, suddenly, like, within a day, and then the next day he called me, and we went to a party, and that was that, and we've been together ever since, and we were enemies of the state after that. I the spiritual group that we were in just were like,
Chaos.
oh my god, because, you know, like, there was
I
certain
love
people
that
who didn't like
story,
me
though.
already, and, so that was like, we were still pariahs, even, like, because Vicky passed away, like, 5 years ago, and no one told us, and I was really pissed off because I still cared about Vicky, and I would have liked
Right.
to have known, but what happened is that I had a dream about her. I I dreamed about her, and then I felt really uncomfortable all day, and I was having, like, this feeling of nostalgia, but it was the kind of feeling of nostalgia like when you go to a rummage sale and you see old things, and they kind of make you feel sick.
Yeah.
So I decided to look her up to see if I could find her because I had dreamed about her. And in my dream, I was with her in a classroom, and John, who had passed away 5 years before she did, was teaching a class, and he asked me to come up to the board and draw, and I had to draw Sekhmet for the class. And Vicky and I were together, and we were friends again, and we were making jewelry together, and that was my dream. So anyway, in the afternoon, I go to look her up, and I found her obituary,
Oh,
and I was just like, why didn't anybody tell us that she passed?
right.
And there were people that we knew in common, but no one told us. So I was really mad about it. But then the next night, I had another dream about her. And we were skating on a skating rink, and there were all these people skating on this skating rink going around in a circle. And we were talking and we were catching up with our lives. And I was watching people going one direction and we were going in different direction. And at the end of it, I said, hey, let's go for pancakes. And that was something that we always did. Like we'd always go for pancakes. And so I felt like whatever eh, thing had gone on with us was healed. And so um, it was a couple days after that that a friend of mine, um, Suzanne Worthley, called me about some Egyptian things that she was having because she's a ghost hunter. And she's somebody you should interview. I'll
I
give
would
her
love to.
her information. She is a
Yeah.
good person for you to interview. She was asking me about some Egyptian things, and I gave her that information. I said, "Hey, Suzanne, you're good at channeling." I said, "I had this dream. I want to tell you about it." So I told her about the dream, and she said, "Julie, that was a message to you. That was not a dream." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I thought." And so that was really a good confirmation and a very quick interval. It's actually like 6 years ago that all happened, right about now, actually. Um,
Oh, that
so
is powerful.
good anniversary.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that story though. I do.
Yeah. It was, one of those karmic circle things, one of those
Yeah.
karmic relationships.
Oh,
And
I believe in that.
and what Suzanne told me was that she was checking up on me and that she did think about me a lot even after we had separated, and that, that she still thought about me and I still thought about her. So, yeah,
Hi, Rochelle.
those very old stories. And I hadn't even thought about that metaphysical interlude that we had. But yeah, yep.
Wow. Yeah. I believe, yeah, there's something to that. Because even in my recent experience, my mother and I were arguing for the first times ever in our life. And after that happened, it's like, and I felt that visit. It's like the anger was gone. I'm like, oh, there's confirmation. Totally believe um, they'll do that. So that is such a wonderful story, though. Um, your favorite animal? I noticed you have like a lot of cat stuff. I was
I have,
curious.
yeah, say cat for sure because the cat was always with me on my journeys. I would have a little cat like here. There was one time where I woke up in my dorm room and there was a cat like on me. And of course, you don't have a cat in your dorm room. It was tapping my cheek. And I was looking at it, but it was so close that it had three eyes. You know how if you look at something too close. And I was having this experience. And when I came out of it, my roommate was also like, she was a psych major. So she didn't mind if I talked to her about all this weird stuff. And I said, wow, I just had this really weird out of body experience. And there was this cat with me, and I would tell her about it. And I said, did I say anything? Because I felt like I was trying to wake up and I was trying to talk, but I couldn't. She goes, well, you were kind of making noises, but you were definitely sleeping. So,
Wow.
yeah, the cat was with me a lot. I think I talked about the statue of Sekhmet when I finally. Yeah. So the cat, cat is definitely one of my animals for sure.
Sorry, I'm just trying to. My
And
questions got moved here. um, if you had the whole world's attention and you could say anything to the world, like just scream it out, what would it be?
there's more to this world than meets the eye for sure. There's layers of other stuff happening all the time if you just notice it.
Very true.
Cool. I mean, you wouldn't be angry at anybody for anything if you knew how many layers of things are happening all at the same time
Oh, yeah.
and how
So,
everyone and everything is connected.
do you believe in like the multiverse or like what theories do you kind
Well,
of resonate with? That would be interesting as well.
I think what my perspective is like if it's kind of like the Oversoul 7 books. I do feel like it's that way. Like when archaeologists dig something up right now, they just find something, it's because that
Mhm.
just happened in the other timeline. That's
Ooh,
kind of how I see that. And I feel like, you know, I don't know, like there are other lifetimes that I might be connected with. Like there was one time where I woke up from this dream that was so real, and I was this little kid, and there was the, the wall was cracking, and I was very concerned where my friend was, and my mother was there. I didn't recognize her really as Julie. I didn't recognize her, but I was looking for my friend, and I could see the wall cracking, and everybody was like, find the children, we got to get them out of here." And when I found out that it was the anniversary of the day that the Germans bombed Poland, and that was 1939 or something like that. And I just was like, wow. I thought, wow, I was supposed to be growing up in the 30s, and I didn't. And so then I had to come back in 1958. So that's kind of how I feel about stuff. And I don't really know until I get something that confirms this other person, right?
right.
Because I'll wake up in that body, or I'll be in that body, or I'll have the experience, or I'll experience the death of this other, this other. But I'm expecting death to be when you wake up in a someplace else. You just wake up someplace else. So I can actually remember, like, looking at myself in the mirror when I was little, going, "Yeah, this is a good one. I'm okay with this body," and not being very big. Just looking at myself in the mirror, going, "Yeah, I can deal with this one. I can be a girl. I can do this time." And thinking I was okay in this body. Even though when I
Wow.
was in Rua's body, I was like, "Oh yeah, I like this body much better. No wonder I don't like what I have." It's like, "Oh, I miss this one." I miss this little brown petite body, not this big, long, like too tall body that I've always felt too big and too tall.
Oh,
But
I love that though. I love tall women. Like, I wish I was tall. Like,
how tall are you?
I'm 5'2". I want to be intimidating, but it's hard to be when, yeah.
And I wanted to be 5'2" because all the other women in my family are 5'2", and I'm
Oh,
five
really?
six. Yeah, so I stand next to my sister and my mom, and I'm like a giant. I'm like, they're like in kindergarten, and I'm like so tall compared to them. Like I don't even really fit.
Oh,
was weird.
I can remember as a kid thinking none of this was real. I remember actually sitting in class, and I wanted to know if you ever felt that way. I was young, and I remember sitting there daydreaming, going, wait a minute, none of this is real. Like when I got bored, and I'd be like, what am I like sitting here worried about? Like, I don't know why,
I
but
can remember my grandmother showing me flowers and saying, "Aren't these beautiful?" And me thinking, "I've seen better. I've seen better colors than this." I don't really know, like,
aw,
you know, like having a basis, like being really super little, but yet like testing my mom, like, where do you go when you die? Knowing that I knew, but I wanted to know if she knew. So asking
right.
questions like that just to test her to see what she knew. Like being like 4 and asking your mom these questions and then arguing with her and going, "No, you don't just live with God. You come back and you get to fix the things that you didn't get right." And then her arguing back with me and me saying, "No, no." And then her being frustrated with me and me being frustrated with her. And I'm saying, "I can see it like pyramid, mom. It's like a step pyramid. And you get to come back and you get," and she goes, "This is the only life I'm having. I'm not coming back."
Screw this place. Oh no.
I'm like, "Okay, I mean, I can't prove it to you, so you're gonna have to figure it out yourself." I gave up. At 4, I gave up on my mother.
My mom was just starting to listen. Like just before I'm like telling her things and she's starting to go, okay, I'm listening, you know. Before she was very much the same.
And I really didn't realize that I wasn't supposed to teach my parents. I didn't realize that until like now. And now I realize the people who were coming through are the ones who needed to know about this. And it was
Yeah.
happening to me so that I would be able to tell you guys who are ready for it and interested in it. And um, I I don't think you realize that. I mean, even when your kids are really little and you think they're just interrupting your actual work, it's like, no, no, these are your friends. These are your best friends coming in, and these people will understand you. And now I know that with my grandchildren. I know that these are our people, and they're little unfolding adults inside there, and they have questions and they have their own agenda, and we have to help them, find what they're supposed to do. We aren't supposed to tell them what they're supposed to do. We can teach them what they need to know about what they're unfolding to be.
Like
Just
guide them.
give them the information they're looking for and teach them how to learn and how to do the research to find their answers.
I
So,
completely agree and I love that. So you kind of view like your experiences and like the mission at hand, like it's we need to be passing this down versus trying to teach and combat the
right.
older.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think about it that way. And Julie, I have to say I would agree with that. And I try to do that with my own and I've been so ridiculed for that by like other people, but I'm like I don't care. Like
Yeah. 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 Because you can't change someone unless they've had a weird experience. And
right.
once they had the weird experience and they come to you and go, I used to think that you were crazy, but now I've had this happen. Tell me what this means. And then you just say, well, no, you have to figure out what that means because I don't know what it means. It's your symbolism. You've got to figure that out. And, you just have to allow them to have their experience and support their that they had it and not tell them they're crazy and just
Right.
be supportive and give them permission to go forward with, the things that they've learned.
I love that. How many grandbabies do you have?
Just to
Just
just to
two? I love it. Is there anything or something that you would like to achieve, or if it's more than one thing, we can talk about that too. But is there anything you feel before you leave this earth, this life, that you want to like leave behind or get done before?
I feel like I'm caught up for the first time in my life.
I
Um,
love that.
I think it's like this experience I've been having doing all these YouTubes with you guys has been really good because it allows me to leave sort of a statement or a legacy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wish I had YouTubes of people who were my teachers that I could go back to and just visit with. I think that would have been nice. I don't have that. Um,
Yeah.
so leaving that is really wonderful and good. I don't have a lot of goals. I don't know if I'll get any more downloads. You know,
Wow.
who knows what might download in the future. I'm sort of an unwritten script at this point. I feel like this is uncharted territory I'm in for the first time because I used to have a big agenda about things I wanted to get done. For the last 10
Right.
years, I've been having this real sky astrology pressing on me that I needed to do something with it. And now I feel like, at least I've got something out there that I can build on. And we'll see where that all goes. So feel like, you know,
I
doing it
do know our
good.
community loved you. Like, it is so great to hear about your experiences, and
I
I
think this is
love.
the first time that anyone's ever wanted to listen.
Well, I even when I worked in the medical field, I was a nurse tech for 13 years. Like, I would go in my lunch and sit with some of my residents I'd take care of and just be like, "Tell me a story." And I just love hearing other people's stories. And I didn't even realize till recently. And after like interviewing, a few people, and now I'm like, wow, I just want to know everything.
Yeah. The old people at the nursing home. I used to work at a nursing home. I worked for a year in between college. Like I had 2 semesters in Whitewater, and then I went to work at a nursing home, and that was very metaphysical place. Talk about like nurses' aides who are all getting pregnant and residents that are all passing away. We would hear our names being called down the hallway because we were like 10 women who were taking care of groups of people. And
Right.
you would hear your name being called and there would be nobody there. And and then it would be like, "Did you hear that? Yeah, I thought you were calling me." It's like, "Nope, nope, that was somebody else." And we'd hear disembodied voices all the time. And so, we'd have our little weird discussions about weird stuff that was happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I used to actually sit with a lot of them if they didn't have family, like during the passing. And did you ever see this while you were working at that place? I notice a lot of them when they're like really close will see like a entity or a family member. And I've even seen people just go, "Oh, wow, like it's beautiful," just before like taking their last breath. Something about that. It's
You
so intimate.
remember, yeah, the silence after someone would pass,
Yeah.
the dead silence that would just be there was like intense peace, but very, very quiet, very,
Right.
very big silence. Um, I enjoyed the stories where I knew that they were not with me, but they were definitely seeing other things. And I would just sit and I would listen to what they were talking about because they were clearly not in the room. They were definitely in another layer, working on something else in a different time period,
Yeah.
talking to a dead ancestor. And I loved it. I'm like, I believe that. I believe that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
um, I I do. And my grandmother was like that too before she passed. She would talk about my grandfather being upstairs and 6 naughty children who wouldn't eat their jelly breads, and, I'm she was definitely recounting other times.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that.
My grandmother too. I love seeing parallels like between people in our stories and how they can relate. Um, it's truly amazing. Um, and sorry, I don't know why my computer's doing this, but it scrolls. So I gotta refind,
On your own?
right? On its own, again, twice now.
Go to the machine.
The last time we had popping in the background.
Yes, we did, actually.
Oh, man. Uh, oh, do you have any philosophies or quotes? And then the last question was about outer body experiences. I know you talked about that
Yeah,
before, but
yeah.
if you had any more, it's up to you.
Maybe more out-of-body experiences. Something that just comes to me.
Did you ever do like how would you say it? Shamanic? Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Like,
shamanic.
did you practice like any shamanic practices or like native also?
We would do like drum work, like if we would have questions about something, or if we felt like we needed to contact anybody, or somebody needed a healing, or like I remember when my aunt was passing away. Um, we gathered and we did some drumming, and it was 1999, and we were doing some drumming, and I was pulling cards, and the cards just flipped over in the wind, and it was the Hanged One from Ancestral Path
Wow.
and the Queen of Cups, and I was like, right at the same time that my friend was said she can't stay in her body, she doesn't want to stay in her body, and my aunt was only 16 years older than me, so she was like 56 at the time, and my friend Nancy said she's not going to stay. She doesn't want, she's scared of this body. She doesn't want to stay in this body. And it was shortly after that that she passed away. But the cards that came up, I was like, somebody's already pregnant with the body that she's going to be in. And then we found out that my cousin, Leah, was pregnant.
Wow.
Grandmother told us that. And Leah was the one that my aunt didn't get along with. So Leah was pregnant, and um, but no one would tell Marilyn because they didn't want to make her feel sad. And so she didn't know. She crossed and she didn't know that she was like going to be a grandma again, but that was the body that she was going in. So the next time that I really saw my uncle was at my cousin's wedding, and I was 56, and that baby was 17 years old, and it was a boy, and he was tall and beautiful and grown up. So all this time had passed between seeing my cousins again. And I looked at him and I thought, okay, you're my aunt. And I knew that he was my aunt. But I didn't talk to him or anything. And I figured that was why she didn't come in dreams like other people did. Like I've
Right.
got a lot of grandmothers that come through when I'm cooking, and they're always around, and the old ones are always around. But my aunt was never in my dreams, and she was never around. So I think she just came right back. And she lived on a dairy farm, and they built their dream house in the middle of a cornfield. The cornfield was probably full of chemicals, and she ended up getting a rare cancer.
Oh,
And so she was only in her dream house for about 10 years. But she came right back, and she didn't want to be a girl. She had a lot of kids, like 6 kids in a row, like one every year. And I think that she wished she could travel and do things. And I think she's going to get to do that as this boy. So I'll be interested to see like what he does with his life.
Right. That is,
Continue him.
that's amazing. My oldest son thinks he's my uncle, Dan, and my grandmother also said she was always closest to him and said she thinks he is as well. And he's definitely terrified of water, and he passed from drowning, and
Wow,
he came out.
total chills. Total chills.
Wow. Dreams.
Dreams. Dreams are something.
How have they been for you? I'm actually curious. How?
Lately, they've been kind of weird and mundane, and I have dreams that don't belong to me. Like, I'll have dreams, hairdressing dreams, and then
Oh,
I'll talk to my daughter who's a stylist, and she'll go, "Mom, I totally did that the other day, and that's exactly what I was supposed to be doing." And but there was something that happened. I dreamed a dream for Izzy the other day, my 2-year-old granddaughter. There's something in my dream just the other day that it was definitely an Izzy dream. Now I can't remember what it was, but when I woke up, I knew. Like, why am I dreaming for Izzy? And I don't
you're
know
a,
if that's just pieces of me and these people,
you're a
or
seer.
yeah, or if I'm just with them, or what. I don't know. I still have a lot of questions about this reality,
Right.
and there's plenty of weirdness to figure out yet.
Take lifetimes.
Oh,
Like maybe that's really why we keep coming back, because it's like we don't know it all and we want to know it all.
there's so many untold stories. Like my dad passed away in August, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
when we came back from the funeral, um, I haven't grieved about this at all because he just. I know he's in a good place. I know he's better than he was. I can feel
Right.
his relief. Um, we walked into my house after the funeral, and the first thing I noticed, and I walked in my kitchen, with the doors on my cupboards are crooked. That is my dad. That I lived in this house for 28 years and never noticed the doors were crooked. I know that that voice was my father, and because he was like, I didn't realize what a perfectionist he was until he was dead, and I could understand him. I could see the world through his eyes because he's here all the time now and showing me what I need to fix and what's, you know, I purged all kinds of stuff that was unnecessary. My father was grew up in during the Depression. He was a minimalist in the Depression. So many people um, had hoarding problems, and you know, my father was didn't want stuff that he had to be responsible for. He wanted the minimal amount of things. He would have his shirts just so perfectly in the closet, his 3 shirts and his fancy shirt, and his pants were all perfect. And,
Wonder what
all
his
the rest of
zodiac.
it, accumulative people. We liked to have stuff. My mom likes to have stuff. And he was like, "Oh, we don't need that. Oh, we don't need that." So I learned a lot from him because if I wanted something, I had to make it myself. So, you didn't get money out of my father. If you wanted something, you had to find the ingredients and you had to learn how to make it. So I appreciate that now because I know how to do a lot of things. Um, that
Isn't that funny how that works? It's like even if we hate it at the time, but then later we see how like these people in our lives actually taught us like beneficial things. It's
and
funny. I've been noticing that.
I'm not afraid to try things. I mean,
Right.
I think the only thing I'm afraid to try is like woodworking projects because I wanted to take wood shop, but he said no. He wouldn't let me take wood shop because I was a girl. And, in the 1970s, you
Yeah.
take wood shop, you'll cut your hand off. So, I mean, I can sew, I can weave, I can spin, I
Oh,
can
wow.
put structures together. I'm I see structures. I can put structures together. I can paint. I can do all these things, three-dimensional, two-dimensional, whatever. There's no reason in the world that I can't learn to do wood.
Yeah, you do seem to be able to put things together really nicely. So,
Well, and his job, he was a factory worker and he did wiring for big, enormous furnaces that were put into like factories. So if somebody was manufacturing something and it had to be baked and it had to go through all these processes, he would get these schematics and designs and he would put these pieces together. He would build it and he would wire it and he would put the electricity in and he had to make sure the doors were perfectly lined up and everything had to be perfect. And he loved his job and it was very like intellectual work. And
right.
I got this, ability to put things together from him. And my mother is an artist and she could paint anything she could
Oh,
see.
wow.
So, she had me drawing at a really early age. And because she didn't know that kids could learn the alphabet before they were 5. So I knew my secondary and primary colors and I knew how to draw. But and I knew how to sew my own clothes by the time I was in 6th grade because I was sewing like in 5th grade. And
Wow. I
I
can't even sew. So I'm like, I
I was
love that.
shocked that other people didn't know how all these things. I was shocked that other people didn't know how to sew on a button or put in a zipper or hem a dress or,
Right.
design your own pattern. I didn't know that people couldn't do that. I was shocked by that. And I thought it was just a city thing, but apparently it's kind of a thing.
Yeah, I never learned how and I need to. What's funny is my fiance can sew. Like he's really good at things like that. But me, I'm a mess. Even if I try to learn, I'll screw it up. Like,
You can screw it up. I mean, my first sleeves I sewed together. I sewed the bottom of the sleeve together, and then you take
right.
the seam ripper and you open it up again, and you just fix it. And sewing is, some of it is fixing. But once
Ye
you have that skill, you know,
yeah, you can use it.
yeah, it's huge, and it kind of carries over into other parts of your life.
Right.
So it's good for your brain to know how to put things together. I would
I agree.
recommend it. It's not too late.
I may learn some of this too because like now I'm thinking too, I'm like, if technology fails, man, and like the apocalypse comes, which I like to think I'm prepared, veteran zombie killer, but I'm not gonna know how to sew, which would be needed. Um,
Yeah, it's just pieces. Start
yeah,
simple. Start with a bag.
I think I will.
Yeah.
Wow, you're inspired. I love it.
Yay.
Vibing. Let's learn
Okay.
how to sew.
Yeah. Put it on your list. Put it on your bucket list.
Do you have a bucket list? I
I
d-
I would love to have do some more traveling. Um, I'd love to see some more things because I get inspired when I travel. See things.
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
If you could pick 3 other places in the world to see,
Be,
where would it be?
be. I would like to go to the UK for sure. I would love to do that. I would love to go to Italy to see where my ancestors came from. Wouldn't mind seeing all of Europe and castles and things like that. Um, I would love to see the Greek islands.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty interested in all that. I would love to see where the ancestors came from to see if I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go to Sweden for that purpose too. Um, oh, I had another question, but I lost it. No.
Reel it in.
I know it was so good too. Oh, it was about the traveling. I hate when this happens. I truly do. I'm sorry. I'm like,
I haven't been to too many places. I've been to Egypt twice. I've been to Canada. I mean, I've been to the East Coast and the West Coast, and that's about wherever the tarot conferences take me. But I've been like my family would get wanderlust, and my mom would need to travel, so she'd pack all of us up, and we'd travel, and we'd drive someplace. And my father used to love to drive, and he would drive us to the mountains because my mom wanted to see the mountains. She was Swiss and German,
wow.
and my father's Sicilian and Northern Italian and Greek, and according to the genetics, anyway. Um,
I'd
so
like to do
he
that
would
test.
he would take her out. And Germany, sure, Gigi, I'll go to Germany.
I
I'll come visit you.
heard Germany is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like 47% German.
I would like to take the test. I might break down and do it. I'm more like afraid of conspiracy stuff,
Ah,
but
I'm not. I was like, who can contain all of that information and what are they going to do with it? It's important to me to know. And
yeah.
um, I was surprised by some of the stuff that came out and
Wow.
how many different places, you know, were involved. And I used to not think, I used to think genetics didn't have much to do with it because I was so intrigued with Egypt, right? Until I found out that I have Greek in me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe some of this is genetic then. The genetic memory. I was like, then explain to me why I'm into the Native American stuff. And then I think, well, that's because I grew up in the land and the ghosts are here. So, that's what I
Or maybe a past life, do you think?
Right. There's definitely one past life that I remember. I have a story. I had a dream about being the second wife or the third. I was the third wife of this old man, and I was the young wife. And there were two older women, first wife and second wife, and they had second wife because first wife wanted second wife. And then I was third wife because I had a mental connection with the old man. And I remember the old man was very, very old. He had a pot belly and skinny legs, but we had this mental connection. And one day, second wife and I went for a walk. We went over these grassy hills, and there were these foreign people who were living in canvas tents who came, and they came and took away they took everybody away, and they told us we were free. And I said, we need our family. We want our family back. And they said,
Right.
no, you're free. And they didn't understand that we weren't slaves, that we were family. So we spent the rest of our lives just searching for old man and old woman. And it was really
Oh,
like this horrible dream. We couldn't find them. They were gone. And I'm, that still like resonates with me.
sticks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
definitely believe stuff like that is probably past life memory. Did
yeah,
you feel that? Yeah.
yeah, I did feel that, and I understood better the the rules behind polyamory in Native culture. It's like it was the women's choice. The women decided that they needed help, or the women decided that they needed extra women in their family. It wasn't the man who decided.
I like that.
That's all Western culture where
Yeah.
men are in charge. Native culture, women are in charge.
Yeah, they were.
And that was another thing that I really resonated with with the Native culture. I was raised in a family that had only boys. Like my grandmother, my paternal grandmother had only boys. So when I came, I was first grandchild on both sides, and I was a girl. that was very important. I was like, they were waiting for me. So girls were really important in this family. And for it not to be important in the external world was really weird. Survives at a time sounds wonderful, especially when raising kids. No kidding. No kidding.
Right? I think they would even pass the hungry infants like amongst each other and like nurse each other's babies and stuff.
One woman taking care of like all the children herself, isolated in houses, that's not a thing.
Right.
That is not a thing. And warehousing all kids together with a few teachers, that's not a thing either. You need
Right.
a lot of adults with all the children because otherwise they're not getting what they need.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite urban legend?
A favorite urban legend.
That was what I was gonna ask earlier, and I was like, I want to know.
Oh, urban legend. Peter, do I have a favorite urban legend? Oh, the Second Salem stuff? Oh, yeah, I guess. Like Whitewater, Wisconsin is supposed to be the witch capital of the of the Midwest, right? I didn't know that
Ooh,
going to Whitewater College, but
either did I.
I definitely felt it living in my apartment. There was a ghost cat that didn't see, but all of my friends who would come to visit me would see. And then it was soon after that that I almost tripped over a cat. And I was like, oh, I don't have a cat, but I definitely almost tripped on a cat. And then, well, all the out of body experiences I had at the dorm, um,
Oh yeah.
and in my apartment, and there were, there was definitely stuff there. There's also Indian mounds in Whitewater.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
That is
East of there, just a little bit east, not very far east. And it is very close to like Astalon. It's not that far away from Astalon. And the whole area is really like this whole area is really like,
kind of in the energy, like
yeah,
heavy.
yeah. Well, the river runs through and there's a lot of untouched areas. So there's a lot of spirit here yet.
Oh, I like that. I would love to visit.
You should visit. I was feeling like I should have all of you guys come on out and
Oh,
we'll have a big visit. I'll get out all the old ancestral path paintings and you guys can all hang out with them and
oh,
journey work. I'll get all the paintings I have left out and we can do journey work together, hang
I
out,
would love that.
camp
We've
out.
been saying we should just get an island.
Who said that?
Us in the chat, we've been saying for a while now. We need an island.
Yeah, I thought I should have at least one party. We should have gatherings where we are so we can have the trifecta of being, like just journey there because you've already been there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Or I'd love to maybe sometime do like I want to really practice like astraling and meeting practitioners like spectrally. I'm trying to get that down, so that'd be awesome too.
Well,
Like,
we could plan a journey work to do journey work. You definitely do.
right.
You don't have to be local to do that.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
You just need to pick a time that's good for everybody.
All right. I would love that.
I would too. It's our thing.
Well, does anybody else have any more questions for Julie? Any? Oh,
What was that? What do you
I
think?
had a very loud scream, like a screech. It came in real quick and then left. It hurt my ear. Like, wow.
Wow. Where did that come from?
No idea. It was like some sort of
What do you
feedback.
question? What are you screaming about?
Oh, someone heard it.
Who heard it?
Rochelle heard it too. Did you guys hear that too? It was like a female voice, almost like a like real quick.
I didn't hear it.
Maria heard it too. Change the world, yeah. Wow.
Okay, a lot of people heard it. I didn't hear it. I'll have to hear it on the playback.
Well, interesting things happen when I talk to you, Julia. Let's. I'm like I said, I'm one of them people. I'm like, it's a sign.
It's a sign. What time was it? What time was it exactly?
Yeah.
What were the planets doing?
Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you so much again, Julie. And I would love to have you.
Try on this one.
Anytime you want to tell us stories or anything, you are always welcome here. We love it. And thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us tonight. And make sure you guys go show her some love. I'll have her link in the description. Go sub.
Like people.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for coming and good night.